Growing up, my dad and I used to spend hours listening to his old records, and sometimes he used to teach me how to play his old guitar.
You see, honey, it's not that hard.
Yeah, but you're playing for me, Dad.
One day, honey, you are going to be a famous musician, like I could never be.
Oh, Dad!
What's wrong?
I had a sharp pain in my ear, and Dad rushed me to the doctor, and after that day, I lost my hearing. I could no longer hear the sound of music again. After some time, my parents made sure that I went to the best school to help me understand sign language and lip read.
Mariah, we are so proud of you for staying strong. Not many people have your strength.
Yes, you are one amazing girl. You inspire me.
I realized that there were a lot of people like me who also had a hearing condition, and they lived normal lives too. But my sister Jasmine, who was 2 years older than me, started acting different.
Maybe I should find another home, since everything in this house is all about Mariah.
Once, when I was in 7th grade, I had a talent show for all the parents to attend my school. But Jasmine threw a huge tantrum because she had her tennis game on the same day.
Okay, I'll go to Mariah's school, and Dad will come watch you, Jasmine.
You never show up for any of mine, Mom.
Okay, and I'll come for your tennis game, and Dad can go watch Mariah.
That's the thing! Both of you are always watching Mariah!
And then she took my guitar for the talent show and broke it in half. And I got so mad at her that I pounced on her. And then Dad pulled me away and said the most awful thing ever.
It's better that she got that thing broken now, because you are never going to become a musician. So let's forget about that dream, okay?
Dad, what are you saying?
A musician is made by listening and—
Stop! Mariah, let's go for a walk.
I looked at Dad sternly as I walked out, and my relationship with him changed ever since. And then one morning, as I made my way downstairs, I saw Dad had taken our record collection and gotten rid of all the songs we used to sing together.
Honey, don't you think this is a little extreme?
There's no point in training her to be a musician if she can't hear the notes.
But Dad, I can learn. I can find a way to listen.
Look, it's not your fault, honey, but things are going to be different from now on.
It didn't take long for my sister to jump in and try to take my place.
Dad, I love music too. Yeah, right. You hate all of our music. I can be a better musician than you, and I'm prettier than her, Dad.
You girls go to your room right now!
For the next few months, Jasmine was a royal pain. Jasmine took every chance she could to rub it in my face that she was Dad's new favorite. The worst part is she would take my hearing aid and hide it, making me late for everything. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. I marched over to Jasmine at recess.
Give me back my hearing aid, you spoiled brat! I didn't hear you say please.
Jasmine thought she was so funny, but this time, I wasn't going to take it.
Hey, get off me! Somebody help!
I had gotten my hearing aid back, but soon I was surrounded by all the adults at the park.
Let her go! What a wild child!
Without my hearing aid, I couldn't understand what they were saying to me. I thought for sure I was going to be in big trouble until I felt a tap on my shoulder. I had never seen this boy before, but he was really handsome. And most importantly, he knew sign language.
Are you okay? I saw everything. I'm Ethan. I just moved from Oklahoma. I believe this is yours.
I could tell Ethan was the perfect gentleman when he put my hearing aid back in for me. I had butterflies when his hand brushed against my ear.
There you go. That should be better.
Thank you for helping me. My sister can be a real jerk.
I have one of those at home, too. Looks like we have a few things in common.
Soon, I found out he and I had more than a few things in common when I went to his house the next day. It turns out Ethan's mom and dad were both hearing impaired just like me. Ethan learned sign language to help them out. It was so sweet. When I got to his room, I found out we had another thing in common. Ethan loved music just as much as I did. His room looked like a record store. He had every album I had ever thought of, even some of the ones Dad and I used to listen to. You like music too?
I love to make music, but my sister doesn't like me working on my own stuff.
I used to love music, but it caused me a lot of problems with my family too.
Here, let me show you something.
I shouldn't have been surprised, but Ethan was really good. I thought we were listening to some famous musician on Spotify, but all the songs were made by him. He could be famous. I had to ask him why his sister didn't allow him to pursue his passion.
My sister is a TikTok star, and my job is to make music for her videos. My whole family are her employees.
You're too talented to make music for some stupid TikTok video, Ethan. Then all of a sudden, Ethan freaked out.
Oh no, she's already home. She's not going to like that you're here. You should go.
I was confused because I had already met his parents. What could make Ethan so anxious? It didn't take me long to find out why.
Hey, Anna. This is Mariah.
Oh, good. Finally, they've hired another maid. Listen, I need you to run me a hot bath and have a hot cocoa ready after. Also, I need a facial mask.
But your skin is so dry. I think a facial mask might be a waste of money.
How dare you talk to me like that?
I was going to speak to you like a person, but I don't know if you qualify.
Dad! I want her fired!
I'm not for hire. I'm in school.
Well, you better not go to the same school I'm enrolled in, because I'm going to be the queen of that school, and I can make your life miserable.
Whatever. Thank you for having me over. Your parents were lovely. I made sure Anna knew that if she wanted a fight, I was gonna give her a good one. The only thing I didn't suspect is that Anna would play so dirty. When I arrived at school the next morning, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Anna sitting with Jasmine. I marched up to them to find out what was going on. As much as my sister was a brat, I wanted to see why she was sitting with this little devil.
Oh, wow! Look what the cat dragged in.
What are you doing sitting over here, Jasmine? And where did you get these clothes?
Chill! Will you stop embarrassing me? My new friends bought them for me. New friends? That's right! Her cool new friends. I told you that I was way cooler than anyone in this poor town. Your sister knows this. My first day, and I already have more friends than you've had in your whole life.
I don't care about these hanger-ons. I just want you to stay away from my sister.
I know that you probably don't have an iPhone, but you should know that I'm one of the biggest teenage TikTok stars in the country. Anything I want, I can get, including your sister.
I was so angry that I wanted to hop across the lunch table and give Anna a face full of jello. Jasmine, these girls are no good, and Mom and Dad wouldn't want you hanging out with her.
Oh my goodness, Mariah, you're so embarrassing! Anna is the only one who understands me. She knows what it's like living with people who aren't normal.
My parents had never taught us to even think like that, so I knew my sister was under the worst type of influence. If I were you, I would leave my sister alone.
I think I'm gonna make her my special pet project. Maybe she'll pass the test, or maybe not. Come on, girls, let's go.
Anna had made her choice. Now it was time to make mine. I loved spending time with Ethan, but I had another mission in mind. Hey, Ethan, I was wondering if you could show me how you put together the music for your sister.
Sure.
Ethan and I worked on the music for hours, but when Ethan went to the bathroom, I made a few changes to Anna's music. I knew my plan worked when my sister came into my room the next morning screaming.
Oh my goodness! Anna's video has been sabotaged! Oh yeah? I wonder who could have done that.
You had better not have messed up her new video, Mariah! When I tell her you're going to be in bigger trouble than that loser brother! What happened to Ethan? I found out that Anna had thrown all of Ethan's equipment away. And worse than that, she was going to make the whole family move as punishment. My revenge had taken away everything that Ethan loved. The next day, when I went to Ethan's house, I found him standing in the yard with all his broken equipment while Anna was lecturing him, and Jasmine was there with her.
And I hope this is a lesson to you all, not to mess with me.
Who do you think you are?
I'm going to be the queen of this town. Now bend your knee to me, and maybe I'll spare your little friend's last record.
I knew I was in way over my head, but before I knew what happened, I blurted it out.
We should have a competition. The loser has to shave their head. You couldn't beat Anna at anything. I can and I will.
You can even pick the competition.
Fine. I'll choose music. Good luck trying to keep up to me with your disability.
The truth was, I hadn't listened to music in years, but I couldn't stand this new girl coming in and trying to ruin my life. That evening, I begged my parents to let Ethan stay at my house, but Jasmine threw a tantrum about this too.
I don't want them staying in our house! Come on, Dad! You know they are going to lose the talent show and we're going to be embarrassed again!
Honey, your sister is right. You can't carry any notes.
Yes, I can, Dad. And I'll find a way to make music just as good as anyone else.
Fine. You can use the backyard.
With all of Ethan's equipment destroyed, we had nothing to make any music for the talent show.
We should give up. There's no way we can beat Anna in a music contest. She's been training since she was a baby.
We have passion on our side. But even at my house, we weren't safe, as Jasmine was spying on us. And much worse, she turned the sprinklers on, getting all of our work soaking wet. When the next morning came, Ethan and I were ready to give up. I had made such a stupid bet, and now everyone's life was going to be turned upside down because of me.
Come on, let's get the ones we can say.
But when I reached down to pick up the equipment, something crazy happened.
Wow, did you hear that?
Whatever sound I had just made sounded like something from another world.
I think it's your hearing aid, Mariah.
That sounds so cool.
Wait a second. I think I just might be able to use this.
When Ethan was done, we had a cool electronic song that I was sure no one had heard before. Even better was the fact Ethan and I got much closer. We even played the song for my mom.
You guys are going to win the talent show for sure.
Thanks for always believing in me, Mom.
Please, this isn't real music. Real music involves instruments and notes.
What I didn't see was my sister Jasmine at the top of the stairs recording our music. Anna hired a full band to back up her singing, and here I was with my mud-covered laptop. Before the show, Ethan came up to me and gave me all the confidence I needed.
You are one of the most talented people I have ever met. Thank you for standing up for me and believing in me. I know you can do this.
Do you really think your silly little hearing aid sounds are going to win this competition? Your sister let me hear everything. My band is the best money can buy. And you think you can beat me?
I know I can.
Do you think you can do it without your secret weapon?
One of Anna's friends used a magnet to snatch away my hearing aid. I felt like I was in the park all those years ago, but then I looked at Ethan and he sent me a sign. Knowing that Ethan and my mom were behind me was all I needed. I couldn't hear anything as the crowd began to clap when the show started. The only thing I knew is that they were loving Anna's performance. She was such a jerk, but when she finished, the entire auditorium were on their feet. I was so nervous, but I looked to my right and saw Ethan. And then I saw my mom in the crowd with a sign that said, "Go Mariah." I took a deep breath and put my hand on the soundboard, and when I hit the first button, something crazy happened. I could feel the vibration going through my arm. It was almost like I could feel the music. Without my hearing aid, all my other senses were heightened. I felt like I was one with the soundboard. And before I knew it, everyone was on their feet. Anna didn't stand a chance. I won the competition easily, and Anna ran out of the building crying. I laughed. For now, I would let her think she would have to shave her head. But in reality, I wouldn't be so cruel.
I'm sorry for doubting you, honey. I just didn't want you to experience the same failure I did.
Mariah doesn't think about failure. She focuses on her goal and doesn't let obstacles get in the way. We raised her to be strong, and you forgot that.
Even Jasmine came to me to apologize. I'm sorry for being so cruel to you. I guess you really are cooler than Anna. There's no such thing as cool, Jasmine. I just like to do things that I enjoy. It's cool when you pursue things you love, not what other people think is cool. Just then, one of the parents came up to me.
That was one of the coolest DJ sets I've ever seen. I'd like to sign you to my record label. Do you have a manager?
In fact, I might just have my very first one right here. Can you believe that my sister and I have been fighting over the crown of this kingdom for years? Hi, I'm Natalie. Please like and subscribe. My twin sister Valerie and I grew up in a huge castle by a silent river. My about 1,000 years ago, my ancestors built this kingdom from scratch, and now our dad is the king. Everyone used to tell us that we were very pretty. Even though Valerie and I were one of those twins that didn't resemble each other, Dad treated us equally from day one. I had long, dark brown hair, and she had short blonde hair, but our eyes were both blue. We grew up without a mom. She went to heaven 2 years after our birth. I was very little, but I remember Dad crying for nights and nights. One day, when we were 10 years old, Dad came home with 2 big chests full of gold. They both contained the same amount of gold.
Here, my little rabbits. These are for you, for when you grow up to invest them in your dreams. There is 100 kilograms of pure gold from the mountains where we are coming from for each of you.
It was so shiny and beautiful. Not for Valerie, apparently, because she started complaining.
Why should Natalie take the same amount as me?
Because you are both sisters and twins. You deserve to be equal.
We are not equal. I am more beautiful and smarter than her.
You two should stick together. There will come a day when you will have to join forces and stick together instead of being divided. If our enemies find out that you two don't get along, it will be very easy for them to take the castle from your hands.
Got it, Dad.
Got it, Dad.
But it turns out this was just a test from Dad.
What you see is not real gold. It's just cheap metal covered with yellow shiny paint. You both failed to cooperate. And I can tell you, you are not ready to have this much power in your hands.
See? You ruined it! Just because you can't accept the truth! Now I have no gold because you can't keep your mouth shut!
Me? You ruined it!
She stared at me in anger for a few seconds, then suddenly jumped at me, pulling my hair. It was a big fight. Years passed, and Valerie and I grew even more distant. Once, when we were 15, a crazy winter was going on. Outside, there was a snowstorm and everything was frozen. Because of that, even we, the royal family, were short on food because all the animals had gone to warmer areas and all the vegetables were buried under snow at the moment. One night, Dad, Valerie, and I were seated at the dinner table waiting for the butlers to serve us food. But when the servant came, he only brought 2 baked potatoes. I was shocked.
Is this a joke? You're fired!
Valerie, sweetheart, it's not his fault.
That's all that's left. I shared every last piece of food with everyone in the kingdom.
Why would you do that? They are poor creatures. We are rich, and we are the royal family. We deserve all of it.
You don't even deserve those 2 potatoes.
You shut up! You're not eating. These 2 potatoes are just for Dad and me.
That's okay, honey. I won't eat. You two can eat them. Our scientist said that soon it will be sunny again.
Then I'm eating both.
And she did! She devoured both of them in a second. What a jerk!
I stood up crying and left the dinner room with an empty stomach, went to my room, and cried all night. The morning after, when I woke up, I couldn't believe my eyes. I looked out the window, and it was sunny! I saw Dad leaving together with the hunters and their horses and retrievers to go and provide food for the castle. He was such an inspiring figure to me. One day, I wanted to be queen just so I could care for our kingdom the way he did. I'm sure Mom would have been proud. I got dressed, went downstairs, and saw Valerie in front of the fireplace. What are you doing up this early?
That's none of your business. But since you look desperate, I will tell you. Dad promised me that when he comes back from hunting, he would bring a surprise just for me, and he would bring you nothing.
Dad said that? I looked at the butler for approval. He rolled his eyes but didn't say anything. I smiled at him and told Valerie, "Well, I hope you enjoy what he brings you. Meanwhile, would you care to go for a walk in the garden with me? The snow has melted and the path is clear."
Are you out of your mind? It's still cold.
As I headed to the door, Valerie continued,
But you can stay here with me. I will act like I don't mind.
I stopped, turned to her, smiled, and went to sit next to her. We were both looking at the fire. Why are you like you are? Why do you want everything for yourself? I am your sister.
I know, but one day I will be the queen. I have to prepare myself now.
What makes you think that? We are twins. I could be queen too.
I can't believe you. Haven't I told you many times that I am smarter and more beautiful than you?
I looked at her in anger, but luckily she smiled, because otherwise I would have jumped on her. We stayed in front of the fireplace for hours and hours next to each other. For the first time in my life, I was feeling like I did have a sister. We fell asleep and woke up when we heard the horses approach the castle.
Dad is here! Now watch the surprise that he has for me and cry.
When the door of the castle opened, I did cry, both of us.
5 hunters were holding the gigantic and strong body of Dad. We ran on him, but he wasn't breathing and was messed up. His face was full of scars.
Dad! Dad! What happened?
Milady, we were in the woods and we saw a deer. We always shoot from a distance, but His Majesty had run out of arrows, so approached the deer from a close range with a knife.
What? The deer did this to him!
No, milady. A bear that had seen the same deer and wanted her for himself.
My world fell apart. I was having trouble breathing and I passed out.
When I woke up, I was in a bed and 3 people were over me, but none of them were Valerie. What happened to Valerie? Where is she? How is she? Don't worry, milady. She is fine in her bedroom. I didn't leave the room until Dad's funeral. Then, after a week, when I woke up one morning and went downstairs, I was shocked by what I saw. Valerie was wearing the Queen's crown and was going around the castle giving orders to everyone. I went to her in the garden.
Is that the way to cut a flower? You idiot! Go home! You're fired!
No, stay here. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?
No, go! What does it look like I'm doing? I've taken over the castle. I am the queen now, and it's about time someone put in some order in this kingdom, because Dad had become too lenient in his reign. This kingdom didn't deserve him. He was too kind. But now, I am in charge.
No, you're not. Take off the crown.
No thanks.
Take off the crown immediately. First of all, there should be a protocol and ceremony to name the new queen.
Been there, done that, while you were asleep.
It doesn't count. And second, it hasn't even been a week since Dad passed. And all you can think about is this stupid crown.
If it's stupid, why do you want it then? Guards! She insulted a royal object. Take her!
But of course, the guards didn't move because they hadn't seen the ceremony yet and didn't recognize Valerie as queen. I couldn't care less about being the queen at the moment, but I also couldn't stand being ruled by a brat like Valerie. One day, 6 months later, Valerie was arguing with the governor of the castle who had been taking care of internal affairs forever. Dad trusted him blindly, and so did I. What's going on here? Milady, nothing important enough to bother you.
It's all because of you! If you would just give up your stupid ambition of wanting to be the queen, I'd be the queen by now, and the kingdom would be fine! But thanks to you, we are facing economical issues now, and the governor here is making insane suggestions!
I would like to hear his suggestion. Milady, our kingdom is part of the 7 kingdoms of the Northern Lands. Your ancestors have signed an agreement that if any of these kingdoms would be left without a king or queen for more than 3 months, we have to inform them to send us the diplomat who would evaluate the best person that should take over. You knew about this and you didn't say anything? Valerie turned red and left the room. I asked the governor to inform the Congress of the 7 kingdoms to send us the delegate. 1 month later, the delegate arrived. His name was Charles, and he was so handsome. But most importantly, he was a real gentleman. My sister and I were waiting for him in the main hall, and he bowed down and kissed our hands. OMG! I had a crush on him already, but I had to stop myself from doing anything stupid because he was here to judge who the future queen would be. My ladies, you know why I'm here. Therefore, I would like to start by giving you some tasks. First of all, I want to see how you manage tough situations.
Well, if we go together to the main hall, I can show you how I manage tough situations.
Seriously, now was not the time to flirt! My lady, it's best if the tasks are performed in the presence of your sister and the governor. I am required to have testimonies. The first situation, imagine that you are the queen.
I don't have to imagine. I am the queen.
Shut up! Charles looked at me in a very weird way and I just realized I'd done a stupid thing. Okay, I think I have the answer to how you manage things. No, please! That's okay, my lady. There are 2 more tasks. What would you do to maintain internal relationships with other kingdoms and avoid wars?
Avoid wars? That's ridiculous. Why would we avoid wars? We are the strongest kingdom in the world, and we can win over anyone and anything.
Okay, I think I got this answer as well. I started to stress out. What if Valerie won the last task? That would be a disaster. Last question before I conclude. What would you do if the people were experiencing food shortages? No one of us answered straight away.
but I knew exactly what the answer was. I would go myself to hunt and provide food for our people until my last breath, just like my father did. Valerie was still thinking. What was there to think about? The answer was obvious, or at least for me, because she surprised me.
I would send every man for hunting, but I would stay in the castle in case something happens.
What a jerk! I immediately regretted saying that in front of Charles, but he laughed at my reaction.
Well, one of you gave the right answer, which defines the future queen. She is Valerie!
What? How could that moron have given the right answer? Turns out, no matter how noble my answer was, there was a protocol that said the queen or king had to stay safe as possible, because otherwise the kingdom would turn into chaos. That's why we were in this situation now. Valerie had chosen to stay inside, thus aligning with the requirements of a queen. I started crying and went upstairs when I bumped into the governor. I hugged him as if he were my dad.
Milady, you shouldn't cry.
But she became the queen. She will make my life miserable from now on.
No, she won't.
He smiled at me and showed me a bunch of papers. Then he went downstairs to Charles and Valerie and handed the papers to them.
What's this trash?
This trash, milady, is what your father assigned. While I was looking for the papers to sign for the new queen, I found this in his drawers. In these papers is written the adoption permission from your parents to the late king. Valerie, you cannot be queen. You do not have royal blood.
What? I couldn't believe it! Valerie was adopted?
This can't be true! We're twins!
You were the daughter of the ex-queen's sister, who unfortunately has also passed away in a glorious battle, and she fought bravely, together with your father. Therefore, Miss Natalie has the legal right to become queen. Well, case closed. I'm heading back home.
Wait! He stopped, and I went to find Valerie. She was crying. Valerie, please don't cry.
But I am adopted! Are you happy now?
I am, because I still love you the same way, which means that for me it doesn't matter who your parents are. You will always be my sister. Valerie raised her head and looked at me for a moment, then burst into tears. She hugged me as she'd never done before, and I knew this time she meant it. We will rule together. I will take every piece of advice that you will give me. I promise.
In this case, my business is over here.
Please, stay a little longer. We need your help. You seem to know everything about ruling a kingdom. And it was true. Charles did know everything about it. He promised to stay with us until I'd be completely ready to rule the kingdom. 5 months later, Charles and I were traveling in a horse-drawn carriage when he started talking to me sweetly.
My lady, no matter how inappropriate this might seem, I cannot keep for myself anymore the fact that I am in love with you.
He was so cute. His eyes were shining when he said that. I couldn't say a word at that moment.
Stop the carriage!
Are you going to leave me here?
I smiled and asked him to come out of the carriage with me. When we went out, the most beautiful scenery opened in front of us. We were riding along a massive canyon and it was almost sunset. Everything was beautiful and perfect. I missed Dad for a moment, but I believe Charles was sent to me from Dad to protect me, to take care of me, just like Dad used to. I turned to Charles and hugged him. Then I looked at him right in his beautiful eyes. I love you too. We kissed for the first time, and it was magical.
Come on, girl! We're almost there!
2 arrows whizzed past my ears while another grazed my shoulder. I winced in pain, but we had to keep moving. I steered Gaia skillfully between the trees as the sounds of hooves closed in on us.
There she is. Get her.
Soon, we came upon a waterfall, which was one of the many ways into our village, and rode right through it. Hi, my name is Nalini, and I'm from Hawaii. Have you liked and subscribed to our channel yet? If you haven't, go ahead and do that. I grew up in a village with my papa, Chief Matanui, and my older sister, Kaimo. Kaimo and I were best friends, and we did everything together. Our warriors are feared by many surrounding villagers as we take their food, livestock, and valuables for ourselves. We're the second strongest village on the island. The first was Chief Keanu's village, who we steered clear of because their warriors overpowered us by 10-1. On Kaimo's 18th birthday, Papa told Kaimo that she was going to get married.
Papa, I'm not going to marry Chief Keanu's son.
Chemo, as the daughter of the chief, you are obligated to do whatever is required to ensure a better future for your village.
Papa, I'm not.
You will be married in 3 days. End of discussion.
Over the next 2 days, the village bustled with preparations for the wedding. On the day of the wedding, Kaimo's handmaids went to her bedroom, and Kaimo was gone. Papa was furious, and so was Chief Keanu.
You promised us your daughter's hand. You are a disgrace to your people. You no longer have the support of me or my people.
As Chief Keanu and his people walked away, Papa flipped the table.
Find Chemo. Find her now.
Months passed, and Kaimo was never found. With Kaimo out of the picture, guess who is next on the list for the throne? That's right, me. Instead of fun rides through the forest with Gaia, my days were now spent listening to the problems of the villagers, sitting in boring meetings with the elders and attending events that I didn't even want to attend. I also had to train to be a warrior, and I totally sucked at weapons training.
Nalini, how do you expect to protect your people if you can't protect yourself? Again.
One evening, as I sat in one of the trees overlooking the ocean, 2 women were passing by when I overheard something very interesting.
If you ask me, Chief Matanui should hire the warrior on Mount Mauna Kea to help Nalini. I heard he trained all Chief Keanu's warriors. And we know that girl needs as much help as she could get.
Both women cackled. While I was highly annoyed by what they had said about me, I was intrigued by this warrior in the mountain. He may be my only chance at becoming a great warrior. The following night, I snuck out of the village on foot to find him. After about 2 hours, I stumbled across a small hut. I called out as I approached it. Hello? Is anyone there?
Who wants to know?
Startled, I spun around. Leaning against a tree was the cutest guy I'd ever seen. Hi. I'm looking for the warrior in the mountains. I need his help.
Look, if you're looking for someone to beat up your boyfriend because he didn't treat you right, you've come to the wrong place, princess.
How dare he think that I'd want to use the warrior skill for something as trivial as squabble between my boyfriend? Then it dawned on me. Wait, you're the warrior? I thought you'd be older.
Sorry to disappoint you. Is that all? I have things to do.
I'm a warrior in training and I need the warrior's help. Will you help me? We stood there for a few minutes just looking at each other. When he didn't respond, I turned and walked away slowly.
I'll train you. Meet me back here tomorrow night.
The next night, I went back to meet the warrior.
Let's get started.
He threw a spear at me and it fell quickly through my fingers. He raised his eyebrows and looked at me amused. I picked it up quickly and smiled nervously.
Follow me.
Over the next few weeks of training, the only thing I learned about the warrior was his name, Rangi. But even though we didn't speak, I found myself falling head over heels for him as he trained me. One night, when I arrived for training, Rangi said I needed to put what I learned into practice. How are we going to do that?
I tied a white cloth on the top of Chief Keanu's palace. Get that cloth, bring it back here, and your training will be complete.
I groaned. Does it have to be Chief Keanu's?
You want to be the best, don't you?
I nodded. About 30 minutes later, we arrived at the palace, and I saw the white cloth at the top of Chief Keanu's palace dancing in the wind.
You get the cloth and bring it back here.
I nodded and quickly scaled the palace wall undetected. I slipped in and out of the shadows and hid under wagons and behind walls until I was close enough to the palace. I used my grappling hook and walked up the side of the palace wall. As soon as I got to the roof, I untied the cloth and pushed it into my pocket. I was on my way down when I slipped on a loose tile and almost fell off the roof. I screamed as my fingers grabbed the edge of the roof, alerting the warriors that surrounded the palace.
On the roof!
I quickly pulled myself up onto the roof and ran across until I was able to jump off safely. I was quickly surrounded by 5 of Chief Keanu's warriors. I knew that I wasn't skilled enough to take them down on my own. I was about to surrender when Rangi attacked the first warrior, then the second. It wasn't long before I jumped in and Rangi and I were fighting side by side. We fought really well together. Suddenly, an arrow flew past me and headed straight for Rangi. Rangi, look out! Rangi turned just in time and caught the arrow between his fingers. He dropped the arrow and grabbed my hand.
It's time to go.
Rangi and I ran and slipped over the palace wall before we were caught. We ran until we collapsed out of breath at the foot of the mountain. Rangi held my hand.
You did well.
And guess what I have? I pulled out the white cloth and Rangi laughed. I looked into his eyes. They were so mesmerizing. Our faces were so close. Was this going to be my first kiss? I closed my eyes and leaned forward, but the kiss never came.
I think you should get home now. You've had a long night.
Rangi got up and walked away. Disappointed, I went home. Later that night, as I lay in bed thinking about Rangi, the sound of screams echoed through the village. I bolted outside and saw a few homes ablaze. Our warriors were in a standoff against Chief Keanu's warriors.
One of your people stole a prize necklace from my throne room tonight, and I want it back. My people know better than to steal from you.
Chief Keanu handed Papa a piece of fabric which only our people wore. My eyes widened. Then, Chief Keanu's warriors tossed Rangi in front of him.
My warriors heard a girl call out his name. Tell me who this girl is, and I'll spare your people and your puny little village.
I watched as Papa lifted Rangi by the neck.
Tell me your accomplice, now.
Papa! Stop! Papa dropped Rangi like a rag doll, and I ran over and stood between them.
What is the meaning of this?
Papa! I went to Chief Keanu's village, but I didn't steal anything. I swear.
If my necklace is not in my possession by tomorrow night, my warriors and I will be back, and the only thing remaining of your village will be vague memories.
Chief Keanu and his warriors rode away, and Papa went psycho. He glared at me and grabbed me by the shoulders.
This is all your fault. Look at what you caused.
Papa, you're hurting me! I didn't! Papa let go of me and walked off. I bolted towards the stables and quickly mounted Gaia. I rode out of the stable and exited the village. I needed to clear my head. I rode until I came to the thicket, where there was a rotting cottage. Looks like we'll be spending the night here. I couldn't believe that Papa didn't believe me. I was angry and hurt. I huddled against Gaia and fell asleep. I was awakened by a hand over my mouth. My heart pounded against my chest.
Shh, it's me. Someone's coming.
It was Rangi. I breathed a sigh of relief and then instantly panicked. I scanned the room. There was no way to escape.
Mount Gaia, now!
Rangi and I mounted Gaia and waited anxiously for the person to burst through the door. All at once, flamed arrows lit the cottage. Gaia reared and we bolted through the old cottage door. Splinters sprinkled across our faces. As we rode further and further into the woods, it became harder to ride. We had no choice but to go the rest of the way on foot. We tried to maneuver between the trees as quickly as we could with Gaia, but it was no use. Soon, shadows surrounded us.
Are you ready to surrender?
I squinted my eyes at the person who stepped out from behind the trees. Beams of moonlight fell across her face. Kaimo! Kaimo lifted her hands to her mouth, shocked. I ran over to her and hugged her. She hugged me back.
Nalini, it's so good to see you. We can't stay here. We've got to keep moving.
Kaimo led us to the darkest part of the woods. She stopped in front of some thick vines. She moved to the side and waved us in. On the other side of the vines was a village. This is why Papa's warriors couldn't find you. Kaimo's eyes seemed a little distant for a few seconds.
I'll show you where you'll sleep for the night.
Kaimo showed us to her hut and gave us something to eat. I quickly explained what had happened. If we don't get the necklace back, then... I burst into tears and Kaimo hugged me.
Don't worry, Nalini. We'll figure out what to do together.
When Rangi had fallen asleep, Kaimo and I went for a walk.
I'm sorry that I left, but I couldn't go through with the wedding.
I understand, but I wished you would have at least said goodbye. Kaimo went silent for a few seconds before she spoke again.
I think I have something that Chief Keanu might want more than the necklace.
What's that?
I've decided to get married to his son.
Kaimo, you can't!
I am obligated to do what is required to ensure a better future for our village. This may be our only hope.
Early the following day, Kaimo, Rangi, and I stood outside the walls of Chief Keanu's village. Are you sure about this? Kaimo nodded. We left Gaia and the other horses outside as we entered the village. We went straight to the palace where we were immediately taken to Chief Keanu.
Chief Keanu, I offer myself as a peace offering between our two villages.
You think I built all of this through peace? You've proved yourself to be disloyal once. Why will I ever allow you to marry my son? Seize them!
The warriors seized Kaimo and I, while Chief Keanu stood next to Rangi.
Have you ladies met my son, Rangi?
Your son?
Why yes, he helped me to develop this elaborate charade.
But Rangi, I thought...
You thought he cared about you? Rangi only cares about himself.
Rangi looked away from me.
I exiled him when I caught him stealing from me. I told him if he did this for me, I'd welcome him back with open arms.
Rangi, I trusted you! I screamed as I tried to wiggle free from the arms that held me.
And look at where that landed you. Take Nalini to the dungeon, and take Chemo to the execution quarters.
Suddenly, the arms around me loosened. Rangi had knocked the warrior to the ground. I punched the wire that held Kaimo. It dazed him enough to loosen his grip and Kaimo was freed. We quickly disarmed the warriors and took their weapons, but more entered the room.
Nalini, we'll hold them off. Get help now.
But Kaimo, go! I dodged the warriors and dove out of the window. I scaled the village wall and found Gaia where we left her. I mounted her quickly. Yeah! I rode as fast as I could, and when I entered our village and steered Gaia straight into the palace, I found Papa and the warriors preparing for battle. Papa, Kaimo is in danger! I quickly told Papa about my encounter with Kaimo and Rangi's betrayal. Chief Keanu isn't coming here. He's going to execute Kaimo.
Warriors, let's go save our princess.
The warriors banged their shields with their weapons and let out a war cry as we exited the palace. I was about to mount Gaia when Dad stopped me.
Nalini, you must stay here. If we don't return, your people will need you more than ever.
I wrapped my arms around Dad and cried. He kissed me on my forehead, then mounted his horse and rode away with the other warriors. It seemed like an eternity before I heard the victory chant coming from our warriors as they entered the village.
Nalini!
Kaimo ran toward me and hugged me. Where's Papa? Kaimo shook her head, and a feeling of dread filled the air.
Papa risked his life for me.
That night, our village mourned the loss of their chief. Early the next morning, when I woke up, Kaimo sat by my bedside.
We have to discuss what's going to happen now that Papa's gone. The elders are waiting for us.
Kaimo's voice trailed off and I hugged her tightly. How were Kaimo and I going to make it without Papa? While we were discussing the future of the village, a warrior ran into the room.
The chief is alive.
Kaimo and I shared a look before we followed the warrior outside. There stood Dad, with Rangi supporting him. The elders took Papa away to see about his wounds, while the warriors seized Rangi. I felt my heart break into pieces. Rangi looked at me, but I turned and walked away. Over the next few days, I tried to keep myself as busy as possible to keep my mind off Rangi. I couldn't believe he had betrayed me. Eventually, Kaimo and I were summoned to the throne room where Papa sat.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm proud of both of you. I know I have been tough on both of you, and it couldn't have been easy.
Papa, I shouldn't have left. I should have stayed and done what was best for the village.
Sometimes, as a leader, you also have to do what's best for you, Kimo. I'm proud that you stood up for yourself. You'll be a great chiefess one day, with or without a chief by your side.
Papa then turned to me.
Nalini, I'm sorry that I didn't believe you. I hope you can forgive me, the both of you.
Kaimo and I hugged Papa. Then he told us how Rangi saved him from Chief Keanu.
Nalini, I will allow you to choose his fate.
Papa motioned for the warriors to bring Rangi in. My heartstrings pulled as Rangi was brought before us. Could I really stop loving Rangi? Even though he placed us in danger, he did save Papa and defended Kaimo and me against his father. That counted for something, didn't it? I looked at my father and then Kaimo, who nodded. I walked over to Rangi and slapped him in the face. Taking him to the dungeons! You've proved yourself to be disloyal once. You aren't welcome here. You really didn't think I'd let a traitor roam freely in our village, did you?